Oh, I forgot to hit my intro. That's okay. We're just in it. Here we are. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday. We're getting tactical. Let me just go mark that I'm live in the thing. Ta-da! All right, here we are. Woo! Ah, what a day it's been. Apologize that we are a little bit late here. I had an unrelated technical issue in the background. I had to go take care of that. Ended up taking me a little bit longer than I expected it to, but we are good to go. And we had a ridiculous weekend of 40k this past weekend. Tons and tons of huge events, majors, super majors, GTs. So, definitely one of the biggest breadth of results that we've had in 10th edition so far, and certainly since the January data slate. So we have like so much to cover. It's going to be absolutely insane. Just a little bit of a note. I will be live over on the Purple channel over on Twitch. Right after this, we have the pod finals. I'm playing Demons into Necrons, which should be kind of fun. So I have no idea how that game's going to go. Demons have been killing it so far, so I'm feeling good. But I'm against Devin Swan from the WTC Team Canada, who is an absolute killer. So it might be a tough one, but I'm excited to play it out. Yeah, let's frickin' talk about it. Gotta go over the top 8 Death Guard list from Cherokee. Yeah, we could do that. So I figure what we're probably going to do today, obviously we're going to focus very heavily on X and 1 of, results. I think we're going to focus on the biggest events of the weekend. If we look over here on our loadout of the events, we can see that Cherokee Open was definitely the biggest one. A big sort of super major. We then also had the Schwennenkloppen Open. That was 140 players, only 5 rounds. We also had some large team events as well. Obviously, almost anything in Spain is a team event. They freaking love those things down there. This is, I believe, also a team event. Yeah. Is that 2 Spanish team events? Absolutely nuts. Broadsword Wargaming is fairly large, but I believe there was another 100-plus player. A couple 80s, I guess. Milwaukee GT, Games of Westeros, both like right on the edge of that 100-player cap. So I think we're going to focus on those events this week, because that should give us quite a bit to look at if we're looking at X and 1 lists. But we can start with the biggest event of the weekend, the Cherokee Open, because this was huge. 240 players. They ran, I think, 6 rounds. Is that right? 6 rounds into a top cut. Yeah, 6 rounds into a top cut, and all sort of exciting stuff. Heard about amazing top player. Yeah, I'm not gonna comment on that at this time because I'm trying to get an actual report from the field of what happened, because I've been told literally about 4 different stories, all of which are entirely contrary to each other about what actually happened over there. So I'm going to try to get in touch with FLG and the judge team and see if I can't get a rundown from them, instead of just talking about the things that people have told me, like third hand, about what went down over there. But yeah, absolutely insane stuff. They were so good they transcended the rules of the index. Yeah, their models are so powerful. They had additional abilities on them, is what I heard. Incredible. All right, top 8 Death Guard. So Daniel Redahace, is that what we want to talk about? That's sort of what people are calling for. Can definitely talk about that. Death Guard, kind of really interesting right now. I love that in one rules change, a single rules change. We'll see if we include the big boy here. Oh, no Mortarion today. But one rules change, they immediately flipped Mortarion from being like kind of not really played that much to being immediately good. Turns out, when you ignore damage reduction and you make your entire army really good against Redemptor Dreadnoughts, Mortarion's immediately playable. But this list looks a little bit more kind of old school. We got 2 Malignant Plague Casters, a Putrefier, a Blight Spawn, Typhus, and a Lord of Contagion. 3 units of Plague Marines. Looks like 1 of 10, 2 of 5. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we attach both of the Fetid variants to the 10. And then stick them in a Rhino. So we have 1 Rhino for the big unit and 1 Rhino for the 2 small units. Huge unit of Death Shroud Terminators. Probably for the Lord of Contagion. He loves to jump into that thing. and just beat people down with his big, stupid axe. Typhus usually like runs solo. He's really good in Death Shroud Terminators, but he's also good enough by himself that you don't often take him. Then had... Oh, a bunch of allies. Dude, this is sick. 3 units of Nurglings, 3 War Dog Brigands, Rodigus. Dude, what? Let's pull up Rodigus's data sheet real quick. So Rodigus is an interesting one. He, unlike normal Great Unclean ones, he has 1 billion wounds, but he's actually kind of squishy. The benefit of the Nurgle Graders right now, though, is that they're basically free. 230 points for Rodigus stat line is, like, absolutely nuts. If we can grab his thing, he is right here. Yeah, so this big dude comes in at toughness 12 with 22 wounds. A little bit idiosyncratically, he doesn't have a feel no pain because you're kind of supposed to take him with a Great Unclean one to give him a feel no pain because the Great Unclean one's projected in an aura. He also buffs Nurgle Demons, which I believe is only going to affect himself and maybe his Nurglings, which is kind of whatever. But you can stack the defensive contagion auras on him, so you can sit a -1 ballistic skill guy, weapon skill guy next to him, so charging him your -1 million to hit, and then Nurglings will also stack with that. And then he's also having your move and objective control. So you have 20 Plague Marines at OC2, and most of your opponent's stuff is going to be half objective control trying to deal with him. So... it's kind of sweet. I also kind of wonder... I was theory crafting a list on stream the other day, and I think that it's probably one of the next meme lists I'm going to try. But I kind of wonder if just Nurgle Graders are like the game's stupidest action monkeys. Because they're 230 points. It's 1 million points. But they naturally deep strike. It's much better in Demons than it is in Death Guard, because you can 3-inch deep strike them away from people. And they're not like you're not just gonna lose them, right? Because that's an issue with action monkey stuff is you jump them into your opponent's deployment zone or something and they just die. But in a list where if you're focusing on big stupid idiots, like you're dropping a 12 wound big idiot guy in the middle of the table or in your opponent's deployment zone or something, he's doing actions and he's meaningfully manipulating the ward state, and your opponent has to dedicate like a lot more than he's worth to actually remove him. And if they don't, he just wanders around. He's +1 damage in the fight phase because of his ability. So he's swinging a 4 damage lethal hit weapon or a 2 damage sweep attack. So he's actually very good against like a variety of profiles. Again, his weapons aren't very strong because I think he's also supposed to be leading Great Unclean ones, which are going to be reducing enemy toughness values. But you are reducing toughness values in Death Guard naturally anyway. So he actually probably does a little bit more damage than you're expecting. His Tauren weapon's also like ludicrous. His strength 7, AP 2, devastating. And again, if you're -1, toughness, he's hitting a lot more on 3s and 2s than you would expect. Yeah. So it's interesting that we took Rodigus over a standard Guo, because I think the regular Guos have more like sort of army utility, but Rodigus definitely hits harder by himself. He's definitely a scarier solo combatant, which is super sick. And then he's just backing up 3 War Dog Brigands as well. That is some spice there, chat. I love that. That's super cool. Yeah. Yeah, the damage 2 sweeps. He's like a Scarbrand level of sweep, which is kind of sick. Yeah, you could... I mean, the benefit being that, right, if you had regular Great Unclean ones, you could stack -1 toughness. You could get -2 or -3 toughness, potentially, if you're stacking Great Unclean ones on top of each other. Not that you really want to be doing that. I don't think that's actually very good, but it's definitely a thing that you could do. Sick. All right. Yeah, we love that. So that's a super cool... Yeah, that's a super cool list. I love that. Very nice. Good call out, chat. Oh, the combo's using the Plague Caster to -1 to wound. I gotcha. Yeah, because the Plague Caster, that's his psychic power, right? Here he is. Okay. I understand. I forgot about that. I know that he can do this thing. So you end up being half move and -2. If you start within 6 inches of Radagast, that is a little interesting. I think that you can basically set it up so that like your opponent has to take 8-inch charges on him all the time. So because they're just never going to start. Oh no, they don't take care about charges within 6. So starting moves within 6 inches of Radagast is like kind of that is relevant sometimes, but I don't know how often that comes into play. There is like I guess a weird interaction where if you're move 5, you can't fall back from him, right? Or when you do, you die because he become like basically movement 0 or movement 1, and so if you're base with him, you can't get out of melee. So anyone base to base contact with him just dies if they declare a fallback, which is kind of funny. Move 4, I guess you suck. You just fucked. But the half objective control feels like way more relevant to me. But definitely making him -1 to wound and then also making it harder to charge him definitely makes sense too. Yeah, I love that. Give the 4+ you another unit. Well, you can't give the 4+ to Radagast, Zasper, so you made the right choice. You can't put enhancements on Epic Heroes. So you are safe there, my guy. He's definitely... I think he's just supposed to have a 6-up for standing next to a Guo, I think, is like sort of the idea. But yeah. Half move on a 3-inch deep strike could be rough. Yeah, that's true. You're right. Yeah, if he deep strikes next to somebody with the demon strat, that's definitely good. I'm gonna play Radagast next week probably. I think I'll lock it in. We're gonna play some Radagast lists and demons. I'm like super high on demons right now. I think they rock super hard. I love them. Yeah, if you could give Radagast the 4+, that would be kind of nutty. I don't think you would actually see regular Great Unclean ones, to be honest. But I think Radagast is probably, in a Demons list, is probably the second... He's the second Great Unclean one that you take, right? You take the first one because the Endless Gift is nuts. And then you take the second one as Radagast because he does way more damage. Significantly more damage. And he also has the option of buffing the Great Unclean one's damage, which is cool. Yeah. Good stuff. I just wish they had a 4+ armor save so they could benefit from cover. Because right now their invulnerable save is just better. Should we stick with this event and look through some of the other top 8 lists here? Mark Cimmerian rocking some Orks. Orks at X and 1 is interesting. Orks have had an interesting time of it. It feels like the more Custodes are strong, the less, Orks are going to do. But I don't know how many Custodes showed up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... a reasonable amount. 22? Out of 240? So it's only like, what? 9%? I guess it's a lot. But Orks definitely have a tough time in that matchup. But I struggle to find maybe Necrons, but even then it feels like it's kind of a wash. A matchup that Orks are not potentially playable into, if not very good into if they go first, right? Because Orks will just run you over if they go first. Now, the super anti-melee armies will beat them, but it's still like a playable game. You don't just immediately die. You actually have to play the game out because they're so good at scoring. And they have so many units that you can play around fight firsts in weird ways, too. If you watch... I streamed a game at Captain Con last month with Steve Cramprine versus Adeptus Custodes, and it was kind of a blowout, but largely because Steve made a couple of mistakes. I think if he played a little bit clean, I won't say cleaner, if he played a little bit tighter, he probably would have either made that game extremely close or pulled it out. I think it's definitely a playable matchup, even though it sucks. It just sucks to play against for sure. But we're running Gasco Thraka today. A Beast Boss and Squigosaur, Captain Badrock, Mazrak's Greg Bad, Wa Banner Knob with +2 movement, War Boss with kind of a brutal, so fall back and charge. 2 Weird Boys. The Weird Boys are so cool because the Weird Boys are such good utility for 55 points because they just uppy downy themselves. It's like you get a Calidus Assassin, but it works on your turn, not your opponent's turn, so you get to see what your secondaries are first, and they're half as good. They cost half as much. Sometimes you also take the Super Cyborg body because he randomly doesn't die when he jumps into the opponent's deployment zone too. They're very good. 2 units of boys. Looks like 1 of 10, 1 of 20. We have a battle wagon for the 20-man and a truck, probably for these flash kits to jump into with Captain Badrock. 1, 2, 3 units of Gretchen, 1 unit of Mega Knobs, 2 units of War Bikers. Wow, a little bit light on units. We don't see knobs in this one, which is interesting. We just got that big 20-man boy squad. That's probably for the... I think we can jump both of the characters into it, right? Because the War Boss double joins with the knob. But we have Gaskell, the Squigosaur guy, and Mazrok's Gragbad just as like kind of raid bosses sitting in the back as well too. So a little bit less of a focus on the infantry, more of a focus on the big stompy stuff, which maybe is what we need to survive. Because if you're swinging into fight first, there's a pretty reasonable chance that Mazrok's Gragbad just tanks. Because he's a 4+ invuln into a 4+ feel no pain, right? So he doesn't actually take that much damage, and he still hits fairly hard. Same with Gaskell Thraka, because he can dump a lot of that incoming damage on Makari before he gets to swing. Whereas if you're throwing 10 knobs or 20 boys into like a bunch of Custodian Guard, you probably just get run over. I got that. Yeah, the interesting thing about Cherokee to me is that like, there were a lot of Custodes there, but I guess they did pretty well. But I'm surprised that they didn't make up more of the top 8, if they're so strong, right? And this whole weekend, Custodes had 1 X01 record and no other undefeateds. They did well, but they didn't win anything, which is, like, wild. Or I guess they did win with the X01, but they didn't actually win all their games. Now, we did see Thousand Suns get a little bit of a good weekend, and I talked about this on my video yesterday, and I almost wonder if some of that is the fact that Custodes is popular. Because I do think that Thousand Suns have traditionally been pretty good against Custodes. Again, it's not like an easy matchup, because they're also very good at killing Rubric Marines, but they are... Jesus Christ, what am I trying to say? Thousand Suns are so good at killing heavy infantry. Like, they just have this ridiculous damage output, right? Especially because the Custodians now are like, well, if you take Devastating Wounds, I'll be on a 5+ Feel No Pain. It'll be fine. Or a 4+ Feel No Pain. Like, I basically don't lose my invuln save against devastating damage. And so the Thousand Suns player is like, okay, so I guess what I'll do is take sustained hits instead, still take away your armor save, and everything's on your invuln now, and every failed save is a dead dude. Or if they're fighting against Wardens, the Wardens just basically don't get the benefit of the new detachment ability because they have their 4+ Feel No Pain anyway. So the Thousand Suns player is like, that's fine. I'm just doing exactly the same amount of damage into you as I was before. And then like you can't even -1 damage them reliably because they have so many 1 damage attacks. The -1 damage only really affects Magnus, and everything else just overloads their saving throws. It definitely, like, Rubric Marines also just get murdered super hard by Custodes profiles, so, like, it's a one and done for most of the time, but if the Custodes player overcommits at all, they lose everything in 1 turn, and it's just it's a nightmare. Which I wonder if that came up. I guess we can look at the pairings. We should talk about Custodes next, though. He beat Necrons. Looks like a very close game in the finals. Wow, that's super cool. Chris Chance, 63-88. Oh, God. Blood Angels, Sons of Sanguinius. We're going to talk about that, too. Man, so many cool frickin'... Oh, this looks like a concession. That's too bad. I wonder if our Orc player had to leave. Necrons again. Oh, maybe he's just teched for Necrons. He's ready for the Necron matchup. Yeah, there you go. It's not a high-scoring game, but it is a win. Did beat Custodes at least once over the course of the event. Astra Militarum. Taking it on Astra Militarum is that's a tough one for Thousand Suns, actually. And Hunter Nichols is not a bad player. Oh, it's not artillery. That's why. Interesting. Dude, all right. We're taking it. We're like... We are the maybe the least organized episode of Tactical Tuesday we've had in a while. We're just bouncing around over here. This list is very how high placing was this? Was a Hunter here? I'm interested now. Hunter Nichols. Oh, 3 and 3. That's too bad. This is a very like stand up, stand and fight kind of army. You got Gaunt's Ghost, Acadian Command Squad, Lord Solar, Regimental Engineer, double tank commanders, a million infantry, Acadian Shock Troopers, Catachin, Chimeras to scout with the Catachin, and probably, yeah, they can't carry the Bulgrin, but they can scout with the Catachin. Kasserkin, which is just really good. And then 2 Rogaldorn battle tanks. So it's 2 tank commanders, 2 Rogaldorns, and a bunch of infantry supporting them. That's just, we're not doing artillery today, everyone. None of this indirect fire, can't see you kind of crap. I'm just going to stand in the front of the middle of the table, and I'm going to shoot my opponent to death. That's, you know, I respect that. I think that is cool. Yeah, Zinky. Isn't that interesting? 2 Rogaldorn battle tanks in one Imperial Guard list. Isn't that fun? Ben Armade, top 8, had to leave. Yeah, so Ben Rubenstein, actually, you've probably seen him if you've watched my live streams. He's actually, I don't want to say local. He's relatively local. He's in the New England area. He's actually a huge tournament organizer for New England. He usually judges for Battle for Salvation. He's judged in the past for Captain Con. He's judged for a lot of the big majors and GTs out here. And so it's super cool to see him do really well. That's super awesome. Actually, I meant to reach out to him after I saw that he made top 8. That's super sad he had to leave. I'm sorry to hear that, actually. Because he's a sweetheart. I've played him in many an RTT in the past. He's a cool guy. Guard's tough for anyone with elite infantry. Yeah, that's definitely the case. Anyone without yeah, like anti-shooting effects, it gets destroyed. And Thousand Sons can, like, it's not dead. They're not dead on arrival for artillery spam. They can play against it, but you have to bring like regular ass sorcerers that have the no shooting aura. If you don't do that, it gets really rough. Definitely. But the Thousand Sons are good against like the Rogaldorns and stuff, because Magnus will just one-shot one of those things. You'll just kill him. You'll get the alpha on them. But if IG have artillery, it's super tough because they get to either just plow into Magnus over and over and over again, or they get to blow up all the rubric squads that are on the table. And Thousand Sons have to like really contort themselves to survive, which is awkward. Orks conceded after 2 turns? Interesting. That's always been a super interesting matchup, because Thousand Sons into Orks, if Orks go second, it's super bad. It's super duper bad, but I think the opposite happens if they go first. That's like super first third oriented. At least every time I've played it. But Thousand Sons having like anti-movement effects and stuff is really good. The problem is that they can't deal with transports very well. But Orks are... I guess this Orc list didn't take too many transports, so 2 disc sorcerers that were in Noah's list is actually kind of annoying. All right, let's talk about... I want to talk about that Blood Angels list. That's Chris Chance over here. That's super sick. Sons of Sanguinius. Almost hit the top 8 cut at Cherokee Open. That's super cool. Jump Pack Captain... Lame Arties, a Combi Weapon Lieutenant, Sanguinary, Jump Pack Sanguinary Priest, a Tech Marine. We have 2 units of 5 Jump Pack Intercessors, 1 big 10-man Death Company Marines for Lamarties, 2 Lancers, 1 Reaper. Lancers and a Reaper, cool. Double Inceptors, double Infiltrators, Vanguard Veterans. Oh, cool. So we have Vanguard Veterans that can co-join They can do that. Yeah, we talked about this. We had this whole discussion last week about how Blood Angels actually work. So you can jump the Captain with the jump pack and the Sanguinary Priest both into the Vanguard Veteran Squad. So you have a big, scary Vanguard Veteran Squad. Their shitty heirloom weapons get buffed up because the Sanguinary Priests give them +1 AP. And then you also have a big unit of dudes with Lamarties. The regular Assault Intercessor squads are actually kind of like hyper-lethal in Sons of Sanguinius. Obviously, being move 12 means they get into melee a lot more easily, and they go to strength 6 on the charge with the new +2 strength buff. So they actually wound toughness 3 infantry on 2s. So you're and get +1 attack, right? So each guy's swinging 5 times. You're doing like 3 mortal wounds on average with Hammer of Wrath. You're then swinging 25 attacks, hitting on 3s, winning on 2s, maybe rerolls from Oath. So they actually probably clear like, I don't know, just like 18 guardsmen or something pretty easily by themselves for 85 points. That's actually super sweet. T6 is a big damage cutoff right now. T6 is the new, or strength 6 is the new strength 5 because it clears so many of those damage shelves. Inky's freaking out right now. Inky, come here, say hi to chat. Need to be shy? She's so shy. DL318 actually played Chris round 5. That's cool. Do you have any thoughts about the game you can give us? Necron's player is terrified of Blood Angels. People are sleeping on them right now. Yeah, I think the only weird part is that, like, I think it's tough to... I think Blood Angels in general are demonstrably good. Like, Blood Angels as a faction. It's just the question of whether or not they want that or Sons of Sanguinius or Gladius Task Force, I think, is the open question. It's fucking cat chat. Are you gonna come hang out? You wanna come say hi to chat? Or are you just gonna scream? Come here. You're gonna come say hi to chat. Oh, here you are. Oh my god. No, she's not. Can't make a cat do anything, I guess. Yeah, so the benefits that Gladius Task Force give you is that you get access to that additional AP that you'd normally need the Sanguinary Priest to get to for access anyway. And then you get Advance in Charge, so you're much easier to get in. But I guess, like, maybe what people are finding is that if you have enough guns, right, there's 2 ways that you can get up into someone's face. The first one is that you are fast enough yourself to Alpha Strike them. Which Gladius Task Force certainly is, especially with, like, dudes doing rapid ingresses and stuff. The second one is that you just shoot them and make them come forward to you. And if you have 2 Gladiator Lancers just forcing your opponent into a little ball, plus this Reaper, so you have a good breadth of ranged attacks, you can make them come to the center of the table, and then you can kill them with the big units. And usually what you're going to do is use the Assault Intercessors to, like, trade for stuff, right? They're going to run a chaff infantry unit into the middle. You're going to blow them up with the Assault Intercessors, and you're going to keep doing that until they have no more idiot infantry to run into the middle, and then they either don't score any points, or you get to run the table on them. I think Assault Intercessors are the real thing that's been slept on for sure, because I think that they're actually really good. There was a typo on the roster file for them back when they first came out, was that put them as OC2, and I thought that was the case for like a hot minute, and I was like, oh my god, is this the best unit in the game? Just OC2 infantry with a bunch of plasma pistols and a million melee attacks, do mortal wounds. I was like, what is this unit? But thank god they are only OC1. They're not just strictly superior to every other intercessor profile, but they are really good. Cat wants to rest near the computer's exhaust fan. No, I don't think so. She doesn't actually sit on my computer very much, even though it is like in a perfect cat sitting position. She wants me to snuggle is what she wants. She's the snuggliest cat. Cool to see Sons of Sanguinius killing it right now, though. We can talk about some... Let's talk about Adeptus Custodes, chat, because we have been kind of skirting around the Adeptus Custodes question for a bit, but I think it's high time that we discuss what's actually winning with them right now. Strength 6 Lance Wounds Catans on 4. Easily pick one up with a 10-man with full rerolls. They don't get wound rerolls though, right? Hit rerolls. And they get lethals too with the Lance strat. That's actually, when you're winning on force, it's actually very relevant. Definitely makes sense. Yeah, I'm glad Inky doesn't sit on the exhaust fan. I think I would have a much hotter computer if that was the case. All right, so I think I've noted down the other. Oh no, I don't. Just kidding. We can pull up the other Custodes list that went undefeated this week, but this is the one from Cherokee Open. This is, got to take his name down. Jordan Sorshevich. Running Custodes. Blade Champion, Shield Captain, Trajan Valoris. We got just the one Custodian Guard squad. Here's the question. All right, everybody. Place your bets. Guys, start your engines. Do we have a Kyria Draxus? I'm going to say yes, there's a Kyria Draxus. Survey says... There she is. Boom. For the Custodian Guard squad. So, with 3 Warden squads, we get all the Custodian characters to jump the Warden squads. Then we get Kyria Draxus for a Custodian Guard squad. I played her yesterday, by the way, though, but in Astra Militarum. I played with her. Kyria Draxus is really dumb. That character rules. She's so super silly. Even better in Custodian Guard. Plus a Prosecutor squad. 2 units of Venatari. We're back to the Venatari, which I love. Calidus Assassin and Kyria. Wow, very straightforward. No Alaris Custodians. Just 4 bricks. And then some little dudes to score. Easy. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Done. I don't know if 15 Wardens is every Custodian Guard list. I actually, the specific composition of infantry squads in Custodian Guard is actually pretty varied. I think we talked about that yesterday, or not yesterday, last week, when we were like looking through Custodian lists and saying most of them are just infantry. But then like it's about 50-50 whether or not you take all Custodian Guards or you take Caladius Craft Tanks still. Like Caladius Craft Tanks still appear in about half of Custodian lists that do well. And then exactly what infantry people are taking, I think, is pretty up in air. Because a lot of people are taking Alaris Custodians, a lot of people are taking either more guards or less Wardens. It's actually, I think, a little bit more wider variety than just this list, I would say. Although, obviously, this is the style of list that's definitely doing the best. All right, I'm going to pull up the undefeated Custodes list while we're sitting here. So it's from the For Duty and Glory GT. Bruno Coquette went undefeated with Custodes. Yeah, this one's running Alaris Custodians. It is triple Wardens, but we're basically switching out the Venatari for Alaris, which is like a side grade. You get more points back, but they don't ingress for free, and they aren't as fast themselves. So it's a interesting choice. But this one's running double Blade Champions plus a Shield Captain. This one doesn't have Kyria Draxus. Huh, okay. Instead, we're just taking an extra Blade Champion for an extra Warden squad, I guess. Or you might put Trajan in the Guard squad. Because the double tap with ignoring modifiers is actually super sick. Because you get to shoot through -1 damage and stuff. Like that Lamarty's brick that's like baked on -1 damage and feel no pains. It just gets vaporized by this thing shooting at him. Yeah, get out of here. I don't like your -1 damage. I don't care about stealth. I'll shoot anybody. I'll reroll wounds against them. Let's go. Double Prosecutors, double Alaris Custodians, triple Wardens. There you go. All right, fair enough. Like Alaris if they're pretending to be one-time? Oh, a one-time Calidus Assassin? Yeah. They're also good at... They do, like, they sweep infantry, I think, a little bit more efficiently than the other Custodians do, right? Because they have that big grenade launcher, and they, like, wound reroll against basically the entire world. So whereas like Custodian Guard can kill stuff if they pop their double tap, and the Wardens they're okay at shooting, like they're as good as any Custodian. The Alaris just have this volume of fire for super cheap that you don't really get anywhere else, which is kind of cool. You don't necessarily need infantry sweeping in Custodians because everybody's got 1,000 attacks, but it is nice to just have a problem solve. Like, oh man, I need to kill these 10 idiots who are standing on this objective. You just like windmill slam Alaris Custodians and they just do it for you. Definitely a little bit better on the big units of Alaris, like back in the day when we used to see like a 10-man with the shield captain for -1 damage. Not a 10-man, a 6-man, I should say. You can't take them in 10. That would be a whole different ball game. That was definitely like you just kill 20 models like by thinking about it accidentally. But the 2-man Alaris Custodians, like they're definitely pretty good at killing little chaff units, which is nice. Good stuff, Custodes. So, yeah, it is interesting that they didn't actually see that much in terms of like top placing armies. We were very limited on the number of Custodes we saw this week, which is kind of an interesting deal. All right, while we're on kind of a Space Marine kick, well, we just talked about Blood Angels. We'll talk about Dark Angels. Ben Rubenstein's list. The name of the list is very good. Oh, praise the Repulsor Executioner. Yeah, we're in Ironstorm Spearhead. So I actually played against, I think, a triple Repulsor Executioner list a couple weeks ago in Ironstorm Spearhead. I was totally unprepared for that unit, by the way. Are we taking? Or I assume that with that list name, we have a bunch of Repulsor Executioners. Yeah, there they are. First of all, let me just say real quick, I'm kind of glad that in the Ironstorm Spearhead, one of the best inclusions is the Repulsor Executioner, because it's a big, cool tank. And I think that there's a lack of really good, big, cool tank, especially in Space Marines, but also in 40k in general. It's like a cool sci-fi hover tank, and I think it looks rad, and I'm glad that, if anything had to be good in the vehicle-focused Space Marine list, that it was the big, dumb sci-fi tank in Space Marines. That's what I have to say about it. Say what you will about Repulsor Executioners. I think they look cool. And if we had more of them on the table, I think that would be great. Maybe not to the level of 8th edition when they were released and the entire game was Repulsor Executioners, but definitely. So there's a happy medium in there somewhere between never seeing play like they did all last edition to being pretty okay now, which I think is sweet. Yeah, we're running Asriel, a Master of Machine War guy, a Target Augury Web guy, and an Adept of the Omnissiah guy. So we put all the points into all the enhancements, because they're straight up the second best part of Ironstorm Spearhead. An Assault Intercessor squad is the battle line. That's cool. I assume, I don't actually know this for sure, but I assume Asriel gives everything in the unit sustained 1, right? So if he jumps into that unit, they have the Feel No Pain and also they're sustaining? Okay, I found him. Yeah, just weapons, okay. I just came off playing Imperial Guard where like every other leadership effect only affects ranged weapons. And that was kind of like making me gun shy about assuming that everything affected every attack. So he can jump into the Assault Intercessor squad and give them sustained in melee, which is actually kind of sweet because they reroll wounds. So each of those sustained hits is pretty high value. Big Interceptor, or regular size Interceptor squad, I guess. Infiltrator squad. We don't have a Librarian for them, right? Oh, we do! Oh, he's the Master of Machine War guy. I totally spaced on that. That's super sick. Okay. All right. Sure. That's not where I would expect that to go. Usually that's a lieutenant in Phobos armor, so we get baseline lone operative, but the Phobos Librarian's good enough, I guess. So we get anti deep strike tech, and if we need to, we can get like advance and shoot. So he can just start up in the front of the table and run up to next to a vehicle that advances that turn or throws back to buff them. That's kind of sweet. We have a Dark Shroud to give everybody stealth, a Redemptor Dreadnought because they're good, 3 Repulsor Executioners, and a Storm Raven gunship. Maybe we put the Assault Intercessors in the Storm Raven, actually. That doesn't sound too bad. That gives you a little bit of like a good counterpunch, but you definitely don't want Azrael to be in the Stormraven though, because he doesn't get his CP every turn, which would be sad. Sick. Okay. Well, Stormraven gunship's definitely that's a mood. Helps to have an aircraft if you need it to see over ruins, and also can be super tanky if you need it to, right? Because you have Armor of Contempt, the Adept of the Omnissiah to blank a damage roll, and its base -1 damage. So it's actually just like super tough and can just sort of chill and shoot people. And we took plasma cannons because we're all in on the Dark Angels meme. That's super cool. I guess, yeah, you can also put the Redemptor in the Stormraven. That's true. And actually, unironically, just deploying the Stormraven on the line, unless you're like playing against the gun line or something and your opponent just has a billion shots and are going to kill it, deploying the Stormraven like at the front of your deployment zone and then just going first and just windmill slamming the Redemptor on the ground gives it about like 4.5 extra inches of movement on turn 1, which is actually really relevant. Because you can just dump it an inch out of the front of the Stormraven. Huh. That's cool. And then you just have a huge front line of -1 damage idiots with a million shots. Alright. I like that. So the benefits of the Repulsor Executioners, by the way, folks, and the reason I keep expounding on how silly they are, is that not only do they finally get a reroll for their big stupid gun, their big stupid laser gun. Oh, but we took plasma in this one? Hold up. Laser Destroyer. Okay, 1 plasma, double laser. That's alright. I appreciate that we're all in on the Dark Angels meme. We're taking all the plasma guns just to have them. I guess also having multi-damage blast is really good if you're thinking about dealing with Adeptus Custodes. So that tracks. I wonder if like heavy plasma might actually be really see a lot of play coming in the future, just to be able to blast against like 5 and 6 man stuff and one-shot kill the big units. Pull up this guy's datasheet real quick. Datasheet is somewhere. Holy shit. I lost it. No, not like this. What have I done? Okay, we found it. So the reason that they're super cool, specifically in Ironstorm, I don't know if you would really actually take them anywhere else, to be honest. I actually don't know if they're that good. I think they're very good specifically because of the enhancements that Ironstorm give them. They have a reroll for their big silly gun, right? So they have either the D6 +1 blast or the 2-shot laser destroyer, which super benefit from the floating reroll that you get from the detachment ability. That's super big. But the other thing is that they have so many little shots. So the unit itself comes with a heavy Gatling cannon, an Icarus heavy stubber, the defensive array, and a heavy bolter. And then you can also take another heavy stubber. So, and an Icarus rocket pod. So they're firing 10 shots from the defensive array, 12 shots from the Gatling cannon, so 22, 3 more shots from the heavy bolter, and then a potential 12 more shots from the 2 heavy stubbers. So 25, 37 additional attacks if you're getting rapid fire on both stubbers with a variety of profiles, which makes it a nightmare to actually resolve. I wish they had rolled the heavy stubbers into the defensive array, but that's neither here nor there. Largely because they are either one of them is twin linked and one of them's not, which is amazing. That's perfect. Specifically, so we have to roll them separately. So 37 like mid-strength, low AP attacks, but they all get lethal hits, and they can potentially all get critical 5-ups thanks to Mercy's weakness. So you could be firing this thing, like shooting at almost anything in the game. You get sustained 1, critical 5s, rolled 37 times, so you get like 13 5 ups on the first roll, that auto wounds converts to additional 13 hits. You reroll everything else against your Oath of Moment target, and you get another, like, 8 or so, which then convert into automatic wounds, and then additional hits. So you're getting, like, you're then rolling, like, another 25 wound rolls or something. And even if you're wounding on 6s, you'll probably convert 6 or 7 of those. So even against, like, a toughness 13 idiot, right? You're like passing them to like 20 or 25 saving throws just from all of the defensive guns alone. Some of those might be devastating. Some of those might be 2 damage. Like the amount of volume from this stupid thing is just absolutely insane. And it's not to mention the fact that it's shooting a D6 plus 4 damage anti-tank laser cannon at you. It's so many attacks, chat. It's so many attacks. And Ironstorm Spearhead is well designed to support units like this because it's good with both the high volume attacks and the low volume attacks that you want the reroll on. Like, both of them are equally as annoying to deal with. And I think the Repulsor Executioner is a good example of that. I wonder if there's like a universe where you play this in Ultramarines, right? And you do that on 2 tanks with Guilliman. For 220 points, by the way. This guy is as expensive as Rodigus, and he will one-shot that mofo. Rodigus is just dead. Just falls over to the Repulsor Executioner. Absolutely nuts. Super duper duper good. Yeah. Well, there you go. Do I like it when it's not an Ironstorm? I don't think so. I think that almost all of that synergy is specifically from the detachment. There's... Like, if you can give it lethal hits somewhere else, that's pretty good. But it's the combination of lethal, critical 5s, and sustain. Like, you throw those all together, plus the floating reroll for the laser gun. And that's what makes it really good. I think it's like fine in other places. I don't think you would be, like, upset that you took a Repulsor Executioner. But I definitely, it's like does a quarter as much damage as the Ironstorm one does. It's definitely not as good. Also, OC5, randomly really strong. The Plasma is really good against Custodes, yeah. Now, the funny thing is that Stormraven gunship, it benefits from a lot of the same synergies. It's taking 1 multi-melta twin plasma cannon on the turret weapon, and then missile launchers. So it's got another 3 damage blast gun because it's a heavy plasma cannon. So I think we're just like trying to roll as many 3 damage attacks out as we can, basically, to again, but probably for those Custodes. It's interesting that we're taking Storm Strike missiles because I think they replace with Typhoons, right? Oh no, the Skyhammer replaces with Typhoons. Just kidding. What am I thinking of? Is this data sheet correct? Oh no, that's wrong. I was looking. That was a Storm Talon. Yeah. Oh, it replaces its Typhoon with the multi-melta, which you're probably gonna do. Yeah. So the Storm Strike missile launchers are just free. So it has what? Against a blasting target, it's shooting D3 plus 3 damage, flat 3 damage shots at AP 2 or 3. So that's pretty good at knocking 2 or 3 Custodians down, not to mention the fact that we're rolling a bunch of multi-meltas into them too. Definitely not as impressive damage output, although having 2 Hurricane Bolters is definitely a mood. Like, this kid fires 24 Twin Link shots, so he has a very similar output. Not as good, obviously, as their Executioners, but if he needs to, can really put a lot of infantry hurt down. And then being super tough to kill is pretty cool. And especially being, like, the fact that he's OC0 and kind of an annoying target means that your opponent's really disincentivized from killing him. And if they do, they're putting a lot of attacks into a dude who's probably going to take more than his value to kill and is not a Repulsor Executioner. So he pulls a lot of focus, I think, from the other stuff, which is pretty sweet, too. And you get, good reserving and stuff if you need it as well. Seems good. Hard to look at a Repulsor Executioner and justify Terminator weapons being turned into Curse weapons. I think it's different for a big silly tank that's going to be like a limited in your list, right? I don't know if they were necessarily expecting you to take 3 of them and resolve them all. But like the big centerpiece unit being different from like a melee profile that you have to is like even harder to parse, because like with a repulsor executioner, right? Every time you shoot it, you're shooting the same variety of weapons, but for a melee profile, you then also have to compound all the variety with like who's in melee, who's alive in the unit, who's within base-to-base contact, you know. And I think they were probably just trying to clean things up. Again, not that I think it's necessarily that exciting, but I do wish that they had rolled some of those weapons together, even more so, because I think the standard repulsor's defensive array is like even more silly, right? Because they rolled like everything into it. Yeah, it's 18 shots. It's almost double the attacks. Did they roll its Icarus Heavy Stubber into it too? They did. Okay. That's weird. Why does the repulsor not have the back-mounted stubber, but the executioner does? Consistency. What is that? Hilarious. All right. Ironstorm builds look boring? I mean, maybe. There's like the game plan's a little boring because it's like largely all the same. You're just like rolling forward and hoping for the best. The variety of vehicles I think is really interesting though, because like Space Marines have such a toolbox of vehicles that they get to pick whichever one they want, which I think is super cool. Well, I mean, it's really good. If you're playing a different faction, you probably don't think it's quite as cool, but you can be like, do we need like tanky like brawlers? We can take Vindicators. Do we need, you know, this like high, like kind of mid-range stuff is like the Repulsors. Do we need like dedicated anti-infantry? We have Reapers. And I think it's like, it speaks to a lot of like what the metagame the player is trying to build for is, or whether they're trying to take like a more focused damage character like profile, or they're trying to build for a wider variety of matchups. I think that's kind of neat, I guess. It's sort of a canary in the coal mine for the metagame, right? You're like, all the Space Marine players are taking 2 Reapers. Probably trying to deal with infantry over here. All right, what should we talk about next, chat? We can talk about some Chaos Knights while we think about it. But if anybody has a suggestion that they want me to look into next, you can throw it in the chat. I imagine that this is going to be a bunch of War Dogs. Nope! Oh, we got a Rampager! Yes! It's a big night, chat! We did it! We're finally back! It's not just War Dogs. That's so exciting. 1 Stalker, 1, 2, 3, 4 Brigands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Carnivores, 2 units of Nurglings. So we have 10 War Dogs. It's kind of interesting, like, to consider that you're only really cutting 2 War Dogs and maybe a Nurgling squad to take the Rampager. But it's still probably, like, so many people consider 2 War Dogs to be superior to 1 Rampager, which is, I don't know, speaks ill of the Rampager for sure. But this time we've taken it, which is super, super sweet. The one thing I like about that is that outside the Carnivores, and the Carnivores are so fast and aggressive that you have to play them really far forward. So they're oftentimes the War Dogs that you lose like passively over the course of the round. You know, you're usually down 3 or 4 Carnivores pretty quickly, and then your melee output in a Knights list immediately plummets to 0, because the Brigands are fucking worthless once they get engaged. They do nothing in melee. And they can shoot out of melee, but they don't really like to, because they are... they lose their +1 AP usually if they're not shooting what they're engaged with, and they get -1 to hit. So their expected output drops like precipitously. But having the Rampager in there just adds this like huge melee threat that you can either bully up the table with Knights of Shade, or you can save until the Carnivores have like done their dirty work. And once your opponents kill the Carnivores, you just have this big like unkillable thing. And if the Carnivores kill everything and kills the Rampager, you're just like, we ballin', I guess. Just running around the table, blowing people up. Which seems good. Rampager got popped turn 1 or 2. That's unfortunate. Yeah. I definitely feel like... I assume Cherokee Open used player place terrain, right? I think that he's probably... He seems really strong in USO. Because USO actually has line of sight blockers that can block for big knights, especially if you can go through walls, right? There can be problems running Titanic units in US Open layouts if you can't go through the walls, but because you have Knights of Shade, you can just do that. So the Rampager can actually start super defensively and like threaten the midboard of the table for the whole game. It'd be like unshootable, basically. I definitely can see if he just jumps out and is like, rah, I'm here. He just gets vaporized. But I think you save him until people have like gotten to grips with the War Dogs, or you're exposing the entire list altogether, and he pulls all your opponent's heavy anti-tank shooting, and then they don't actually have anything left to kill the War Dogs, so the Carnivores run them over. I think is generally how that wants to go. Take a Lancer over the Rampager? What's the points difference there? I actually don't know how much a Lancer costs in Chaos Knights. I'm sure that Wahapedia will tell me. I'm going to find out how much a Gladiator Lancer costs real quick. Just watch me. $465? Ew. He's 85 points more expensive. Definitely. I mean, at least an equivalent melee profile, right? The Rampager has an extra swing, but is only 6 damage. Is only 6 damage? Listen to myself over here. a measly, disgusting 6 damage. God damn. What a worthless piece of trash. Yeah, 6 attacks for 6 damage apiece. Oh, I guess he also has an 8 damage profile. Wait, does the Rampager just unironically hit harder? He just doesn't get the free tank shock. Which is actually good, because you're going to be tank shocking with the Carnivores almost every time you get into combat with them anyway, right? So, getting a second tank shock's a big deal. Oh, these guys get sustained on the charge, too. I don't know, chat. Rampager seems really good in the comparison. Hitting on 2s, sustain 1, just means you should convert all of your attacks, right? Like, mathematically. And if they're 8 damage, like, you're just gonna die. Yeah, the tankiness is good for sure. I definitely not having to rotate ion shields is or whatever they call it in Chaos Knights is definitely a big deal against the shooting attacks. And it is kind of funny that the Rampager just like dies immediately once he commits to a counter punching melee because he doesn't have an invuln save. But so yeah, you're not wrong. That's definitely a big consideration. Also, he's 2 movement faster, right? On the Lancer, the Cerastus Lancer. So that also helps. And it helps because you're trying to clear walls, not just move through them. So he's better with Knights of Shade. So yeah, it's definitely a consideration. 85 points, though, is a lot. For what is like largely a side grade in power, I think. They're probably roughly equivalent damage in melee, right? The sustained and extra attack should convert into basically like 1 extra converted wound. And the tank shock is basically like converting a wound automatically. So you're paying 85 points for the invuln save and the extra movement, which is okay. The Lancers can't advance and charge anymore, right? Unless there's the Chaos Lancer datasheet that I'm totally missing. But I don't believe that they have any access to advance and charge. Do Chaos Knights do the thing where they just have their own Imperial armor index? No, they just use the Imperium datasheets, right? Oh, no, they'd have their own index. Just kidding. Oh, they give War Dogs Assault. That's kind of cool. Wait, that's like legit. It's really good, actually. It lets you advance and shoot your brigands. Well, hold up. What? Okay. That's a much better support ability than advance and charge on a single warglaive. That's super cool. I like that, actually. All right, I'll buy it, chat. I can see the comparison. I think you lose out a War Dog, though, right? Unless you're dropping all your support, but you're probably not doing that. So you're probably playing one War Dog less. So is it worth a third War Dog to take the Lancer? I don't know. Imperial Knight Lancer also can't advance and charge. Yeah, that's an old thing. The Lancer and Imperial Knights used to have the bondsman for it, but bondsmans now don't affect themselves. They only affect whatever you're bondsmaning. So it's really sad. I think that definitely moved the Imperial Knight Lancer from being like an auto-include every single time to being like, you take him half the time. You don't always play him. 60% of the time, worth it every time. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that was a lot more discussion than we usually have about Chaos Knights, which I appreciate. I would love Chaos Knights. I mean, I want a Chaos Knight Codex like yesterday, because all I want is for them to redux the stupid Abominant from being like a worthless piece of garbage to being actually playable. It's just so bad compared to every other knight, and it's so cool. Look at this big idiot. He's got an AP1 gun. No, he doesn't. It's AP0. He's an AP0 gun. Poopy. He's got his movement phase thing is cool, but it's 9 inches, and you gotta get up next to your opponent with a 10-inch move guy, which you're probably not gonna do, because he's so slow. He should deep strike. That'd be cool. He should deep strike and then make his aura 12 so he can hit people with it, like a Moloch. You just want to be a big Moloch. That'd be sweet. But like, yeah, his AP sucks in melee. He doesn't have AP on his gun. Whatever. It's dumb. Stupid. Did demons do anything this weekend? Well, we can look for some demons. To my knowledge, basically every faction had X1 results this weekend. Oh, here's some Chaos Demons from the same event. We can jump into them. I know somebody was asking about Drukhari too, and we can talk about Drukhari later. Looks like they tied. That's kind of sick, actually. Jake Miller, Andrew Bateman over here. Was it 4-1-1 for demons this event? Running Exalted Flamers. What is this stuff? That's super interesting. Do we take regular Flamers? One unit of Flamers. So the Exalted Flamers give their attached unit Assault, which is kind of cool, because it makes them like a pretty good utility unit, but it makes them throw a little bit farther. You're almost never going to want to not shoot with them, because they are so expensive that you want to take all your attacks when you can. They also reduce non-monster vehicle units movement, which is relevant, especially because they can do it at 18 inches away, which is like, that's pretty good. I like that as a little utility. Plus, it's like it's a single entity, strength 9, AP 3, 3 damage gun, and if he's standing next to the Lord of Change, who's also in the list, he goes to strength 10. So it's kind of like a pretty good just little laser beam. Pew pew! And 6 wounds of the 4+ invul and doesn't die immediately, although he is only toughness 4. So he's like an okay utility unit. It's too bad that this ability requires him to shoot, so he can't do it while performing actions, because I think you would see him a lot more. He could just drop in, sit on an objective, and then like slow down whatever's gonna go get your big demons, and then call it a day. But I actually really like that inclusion. That's really cool. An Endless Gift, great and clean one. Keeper of Secrets with Soul Stealer, so she regens wounds when she kills people. And Lord of Change with Everstave. Which might be... Is Everstave, like, maybe the best enhancement in the game? I don't know. Demons have really good enhancements. That's probably one of the biggest benefits that their army has. The Everstave is +1 strength and 3 inches of range, double if you're in Shadow of Chaos, and the army includes Be'lakor, so as long as they're within 6 inches of Be'lakor, they automatically trigger the second ability. And then Be'lakor also makes it hard to shoot back at them. So the Lord of Change just wins shooting, shooting matches with a lot of other, like, big, heavy tanks, because they can't shoot back at him, and his range is increased. It cuts the range of his Bolt of Change up to 24, so he's not like a super long range gun. But given the fact that he can play more aggressively than other big guns, he's actually super duper tough to get to grips with. And then Demons also have a shooting phase +1 AP strat, so you can actually put his gun to AP3 ignore cover if you really need to. Which is kind of nuts, so... 4 units of Nurglings to do actions. Pink Horror unit, because they're insane. Pink Horrors are just, like, kind of an MVP unit, honestly. I'm actually surprised we don't see, like, double or triple Pink Horrors in a lot of Demon lists, because they're super good at holding objectives. They're just impossible to kill unless you one-shot them, which is very difficult in and of itself. We then have 2 units of Plague Bearers, so they lock objectives. Really cheap, or not, I don't want to say super cheap, but they are... For demons, I guess they're kind of cheap, but they're tough OC2 infantry too, which is nice. And then Flamers and Screamers for utility. The Screamers are a little bit slept on, I think. They're beasts, so they move through walls, and they're super fast. They're move 14, and they have a bombing run effect, so they can do damage while performing actions, and they're really good at performing actions because they're ridiculously fast. I wish that they had more synergy with the other Tzeentchian demons, because they don't really benefit from any of the auras that Tzeentch demons have, but like just a move 14 unit that can go through walls is like super sick, especially because a lot of the equivalent move units in the faction are cavalry, so they can't go through walls, which is kind of annoying. They're also 3 wounds apiece, so you get 9 wounds for 75 points, which isn't too bad. The comparison I think with them is Flesh Hounds, which are better in melee. They're better on the charge at fighting people, but they're not quite as fast, so they're not necessarily as good at scoring points as the Screamers are, but the Screamers are very, very neat anyway. I actually think that they're probably a little bit slept on. Good stuff from Demons. Pretty standard, I think, in terms of the character outload. I like the Exalted Flamers, though. That's a cool include. Especially if you're going all in on characters anyway. And I think Greater Demons or like Demons in general, if you want to do damage to people, you're taking either Soul Grinders, which are kind of whatever, or you're taking the Graders. Unless you're on Blood Crushers, I guess. And even any one of those builds, you're probably maxing characters anyway. So I think that Demons are just like, they just play into Assassination and assume that you can't kill like all of the big demons before the end of the game. So they don't really care so much if they take a bunch of the little guys. It's too bad that they keep paying the cost for other factions' allied stuff, so the little characters like Blue Scribes and Changeling get upcharged. Which I definitely would make Demons stronger, I think, if they could take those in more factions for sure. We did talk about Blood Angels already, chat. Yep. Everstave single-handedly carried. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. That Lord of Change, it's a combination of the Lord of Change and the Great and Clean one. Like those two characters are like they're the whole faction, man. That's just everything that Demons do is like totally totally, they owe it all to those two big idiots. All right. Looks like somebody was asking about World Eaters. Is there any World Eaters at Cherokee? Oh yeah, there's a 5-2. We can also take a look at some of the other big events too. Let's jump into Schwinn and Klopp and open and see if we can find any. Unless there's a really easy Demons list I can click on right here and then we can talk about it. There was! Alright, let's jump. We're gonna do one more Demons list because I'm on a Demons kick right now. Grisha Gerwert went 4-1 with Demons. Oh, this is pretty spicy. So we do have the Lord of Change, Ever State of Lord of Change, and the Grin and Clean one. Bellicor, a Rend Master, and a Skull Master. So we're taking one Blood Crusher unit. There they are. To get the Skull Master benefits. He's nice in the Blood Crushers because he also increases their unit size, which is very relevant for doing more mortal wounds on the charge. But he also gives their Juggernauts devastating on the charge as well, so which is a little bit weird because they have Lance, so you're kind of like losing it. It's like, it's not anti-synergy, it's just sort of like, sort of a weird combination of effects. Just feels kind of strange, but that's kind of like Demons to a T. And then they can be buffed up by the Ren Master. We had 2 units of Bloodletters, some Nurglings, Blood Crushers, Fleshhounds, Seekers. So we had, and then a Pink Horror unit. So an interesting question is like whether or not the Flux Master joins the Pink Horror unit, because he does make them harder to kill, and they will keep him alive for like kind of a million years. Don't open my data sheet, Jesus Christ, because he gives them -1 to be hit from all attacks, it's not stealth, right? It's even in melee, and they really suck in melee. Once they get engaged, the unit does nothing. But they will just like bog you down in melee forever unless you can kill the entire thing, because they're just going to keep splitting a million times. So he's like an interesting include, but he does make a unit that you're kind of excited about being super cheap, more expensive. But the funny thing is that he by himself is actually super sick. And I talked about this in my Wizards video because we had Flux Masters in the Wizards list. But they're like an Infernal Master from Wish, basically. They have a devastating wounds gun, so it does D3 damage devastating. And once per battle round, they can automatically flip a wound roll to a 6. So you're guaranteed to get 1 devastating wound from them, right? As long as you use the ability. Or you could save it to auto pass a saving throw. So they have this little like 18-inch laser beam that just clips you for D3 damage every time. And if they roll any natural 6s, it goes even farther. And they also, like, it goes to strength 7 with the Lord of Change, which is nice, but you're looking for 6s anyway. So you're like, if you roll a natural 6, you're doing 2d3 automatic damage. But at the baseline, you're doing 1. And that's just like really solid. Plus they have Deep Strike. They're not super big. I think they're on a 50 or 60 mil base because they have a little disc each. So they're pretty good at just diving into your opponent's backline and scoring secondaries if they're by themselves. I think they're actually kind of like an unsung hero. A lot of the Tzeentchian demons are like, I guess appropriately, really tricksy and silly, and probably underplayed, to be honest. Like, as we just talked about that Flamer who slows people down and shoots them with 3 damage like laser cannons, and this dude who just automatically mortal wounds people. Like, that's all pretty good shooting. And if you apply it all together, they are very character focused, which is sad. Their non-character units aren't that good, but they are doing a lot, like a surprising amount of shooting, effective shooting power. They also have like these little guys, the Burning Chariots, which pulls cover from people, so you can make all their little guns even stronger too. I don't know if you unlike 9th edition where you played like this demon gun line where you just had a billion laser cannons everywhere. I don't think you would play 100% Tzeentch demons, because once you get close to them, they don't do anything. But I think you could play a majority Tzeentch demon list and actually surprisingly do a ton of damage in melee or in shooting. That's cool. All right, what were we gonna look at? I lost my train of thought. Shit. Fuck. World Eaters. We were going to look at World Eaters. Instead of talking about World Eaters, I just talked about Tzeentch Demons for like 10 minutes. All right, we'll talk about this one. 4-2 from Charles Craig at Cherokee Open. I guess we can also look at the other big events of the weekend and just see if we have any big ones. Milwaukee GT. Give me a World Eater. Give me an X1 World Eater, please. Man. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. It sounds like World Eaters had a rough weekend, actually. Oh, no. Oh, no. Make it stop, chat. No. Why did we nerf Angron so hard? He didn't deserve it. World Eaters weren't that good. Ah. All right. Cherokee Open. We'll save us with Charles Craig. Charles Craig, the hero is the hero we needed. 4-2 with World Eaters today. Angron and Invocatus, Jackals, 1 Berserker unit, a Rhino, double Exalted 8-bound. So we have a Rhino for the Berserker unit. It's just fiber, I guess. Double Land Raiders. What is this? All right, that's cool. So we have 2 Land Raiders for the Exalted 8-bound to join into. Invocatus is interesting because if we're putting everybody in transports, he doesn't really actually do anything, right? Because you have to be on the table in order to benefit from his ability. So he can make like the Jackal Scout, and he can make he make the Spawn Scout? I thought it was infantry only, but I might be thinking of old rules for his 8 bloody steps or whatever. Road of 8 bloody steps. Yeah, it is only infantry, so I think it is literally. If the Berserkers are in the Rhino, I think it's literally just the Jackals that scout from him. That's interesting. I guess he could also just like start on the table with the Corn Berserkers or something and then scout them. I guess he's probably good enough that you take him anyway. He's 140 points though. It's a lot. Well, especially when you're talking about regular World Eaters characters who are like kind of sick by themselves. Oop, that's the same Jada sheet again. Like, the regular Juggernaut Lords basically have the same melee profile. And they do mortal wounds on the charge, so I don't know. That's interesting. World Eaters got done dirty. Yeah. Definitely. Dice Arcade GT had a fun World Eaters list? Oh, okay. We'll go check that out. But anyway, while we're here, yeah, I do love, I like this list. I think just having like an immense amount of aggression, plus you get back it up with good shooting too. And especially because Angron has his like weird his weird like sideways way to reroll hit rolls on in ranged attacks on the subsequent turn, which is a little bit bizarre, but he can buff the guns if you on your second turn, I guess. So you can actually play a little bit like with the utility units and stuff in the center, you can actually play a little bit cagey. And then, like, if your opponent ever goes too far forward, you just push the Land Raiders super far forward, right? And then, like, disembark and charge with the Exalted 8-bound, and it just gets super duper dirty. And especially if you're committing Angron and the Land Raiders at the same time, your opponent will usually have to kill Angron first, which means you just get 2 activations out of your Land Raiders, and that's a really big deal. Because the 2 Land Raiders together is probably worth a dead tank or something, you know, over the course of the shooting phase. Which is good. With all the big laser cannons. Land Raider laser cannons are really satisfying to shoot. I just enjoy them. Alright, we wanted to look at Dice Arcade if we wanted more World Eaters. This is in New South Wales, Australia. Where are they at? Oh, they're also 3-2. Yeah, they didn't have a great weekend, I guess. Seems like the one faction that was a little bit underrepresented this weekend. Maybe in some of the smaller events they did better, but a lot of X2s, which is unfortunate. All right, Alexander Smith over here running double Lord of Skulls. Nice. Yeah, we've talked about this list before. Sometimes it takes Invocatus. Looks like we left him at home, I guess, for more utility stuff. Just to give Scout to the Exalteds. So that lets you get like the sort of like classic alpha on people if you go first, where you just like eat a bunch of Exalted 8-bound into their deployment zone. And then follow it up with the Lord of Skulls. So they have a tough time dealing with both those and the Titans. And then you have Angron to just chill with the Lords of Skulls all day and hopefully dominate the middle of the table. But looks like we just took more Chaos Spawn for doing secondaries, which definitely makes sense. But yeah, we've talked about the double Lord of Skulls list a couple times. You scout the 8-bound into the Land Raiders. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that, but I guess that does work. You could just deploy them on the line and then enter. That works, right? There's no, like... I imagine that works. Oh, goodbye, core rules. You're gone. Because there's no movement phase restriction for embarkation, right? It's just any movement. I don't know if I ever considered that, but that does make total sense. Wow, my PDF reader is dying today. All right, this might be not worth my time. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with my PDF? Holy shit. It's so loading so slowly. Yeah. Any normal advance or fallback move? And a scout is just a normal move of up to whatever your distance is, right? Normal move, yeah. That's cool. All right, chat. Well, you've turned me on to technology that I didn't consider before. That's actually super cool. It's cool. All right, I'm in. Just kidding. That makes total sense. I love that. That lets you play like really aggressively with those guys, because you don't even have to worry about where you can scout to, as long as you like have a stupid Land Raider 9 inches behind you. You can go anywhere you want, which is really good. Wow. Okay. All right. That's awesome. I like that. Thank you, chat. Who's that? Who pointed that out? Oh, Half Lotus. Cheers, dude. That was super cool. Chaos Space Marines won an event, chat. I talked about it in my video yesterday. Go check out my video yesterday if you want to see. Pretty cool. Chaos Space Marines have moved to being like an armored company kind of style. They take like 4 or 5 combat vehicles now. But that was Wolf on Mibu, who's like a friend of the channel. He plays online a lot. I've actually streamed him many a time playing online. So if you want more info about his list, watch my video from yesterday. And then yeah, we'd be good. My camera keeps moving, by the way. I'm gonna try to reset that. Please, camera, stop moving. Thank you. That'd be great. Appreciate you. All right. Some people were asking about Tyranids. We can, I think, go back to Cherokee Open. I think there were some Tyranids that went X and 1. Tyranids do feel like a kind of perennial X and 1 gatekeeper. Oh no, they didn't go X and 1. Just kidding. Any Tyranids over here? Yeah. Okay. Maik Loga at Swin and Claplin went 5-1 with Tyranids. This was the event that Malcha Hoff won, by the way. So. That one was won by Chaos Space Marines. 140 players. Chaos Space Marines took it down. I like big bugs, and I cannot lie. Invasion Fleet! With Old One-Eye, Neuro Tyrant, Hive Tyrant, Triple Gargoyles, Biovores, a Carnifex, let's go, or double Carnifex, excuse me. Double Exocrine, Maleceptor, double Neurolector, Pyrovore, double Screamer Killer. Is this the list that John Lennon played? It is, right? This is John Lennon's list from 2 weeks ago, from Crucible, who he went 5-0 with Tyranids. At least it's very similar either way. But I think Tyranids kind of boil down to like some variety of an invasion fleet that looks like this. The Screamer Killers are cool inclusions. I have been unimpressed by them, but I will say that their Battle Shock application is super good. Just an additional Battle Shock at -1 on top of all of the other Battle Shocks you're forcing is just really nice to Battle Shock basically the entire world. And they definitely make units like the Carnifexes a lot more effective, because the Death Spitters is strength 7 with +1 to wound is actually super sick, with full rerolls from Old One Eye and probably like Sustains or something. So they actually start to do really appreciable damage. Plus it buffs up the Exocrines too. They definitely feel like they're the piece that's missing in like the Tyranid like damage wombo combo, but they still don't really feel like they're worth 145 points. And a large part of it is the physical size of the models. They're like the size of they're like really big. They're like the size they're so weird because they're very wide, like their model's physically super wide because they're reaching their arms out like this, which makes them almost impossible to actually hide behind stuff. So your opponent gets line of sight to them all the time, and they only have 10 wounds at toughness 9. So they have basically the equivalent defensive profile of like a Rhino for double the points value, and they're like 3 inches wider, so they're harder to hide. They're just 1 saving throw higher than a Rhino, but they don't get smokes and stuff, so like it's actually pretty similar. And they don't heal, so that's always a little bit awkward. But the fact like their offensive output's really good, and the fact that they can supercharge the Neurolector's aura is really nice. Yeah. I don't know. Seems solid. They have a larger footprint than the Norn Emissary. Yeah, that's true, actually. They're on the same base, right? Because they're both on the 100 mil round, like the Redemptor Dreadnought base, which is like absolutely insanity. Right? Like... It doesn't help that I think the Norn Emissary, especially based on how big people assumed it was, is very small. Because that guy he's just a little baby. He's a little baby boy. But he's really tall, but obviously that doesn't really matter in 40k so much right now because you can hide behind ruins. So, and also he's like T12 with a million wounds and a 4+ invuln save and like a feel no pain and all that stuff. Yeah, they're still sad. I think if they were cheaper, I think that you would be much happier with playing a bunch of them because like your opponent would just kill them and you wouldn't be so worried about it. But the fact that they're more expensive than an Exocrine, it's like, oh, okay. And an Exocrine shoots as hard as they melee, so you're like, oh, okay. And is harder to kill on top of that, which is a little bit nuts. Yeah, I don't know. It's a whole thing. He's like a brigand. That's true. He's definitely taller than a brigand, but he's not as... brigands, he's like as wide, right? Because they're basically constrained to the base, because the Norn Emissary is all like this. Just take your Screamer Killers, everyone, and model them so they're giving you a hug. All their arms are just in, and then maybe Screamer Killers are good. He's like, I'm scared. Please don't shoot me. I'm not going to reach around that corner and get you, because... I don't want to be shot by a laser beam in my upper extremity, and that kills my entire body for some reason. Good old True Line of Sight, chat. What a good system with no problems whatsoever. It definitely doesn't dramatically change the power level of certain models based on their physical model dimensions for no reason. A statistic that is easily manipulatable by people assembling their models differently. Whatever. All right, chat. Some people were talking about some other factions. I think Drukhari was the other thing. that people are looking for. Let's go back to the Frontline Gaming, open. Oh yeah, so we totally talked about Jake Miller tying with shit. Who were we talking about just now? He tied with Chaos Demons, Andrew Bateman, duh. And then we just skipped his list. So let's talk about that. So Jake Miller was 4-1-1 at Cherokee Open, running Drukhari. The Doc Kid, as they say, in Scaryland. We got an Archon with the Nightmare Shroud, so please don't overwatch me, s'il vous plaît, Relic. Another Archon, Lilith Hesperax. This is kind of like the standard loadout that we've seen for Sky Splinter Assault so far. Either 2 to 3 Archons, sometimes a Beastmaster, and then Lilith. Lilith is just like such an absolute champ, though. I'm so glad she's seeing play, because I think she went for a long time without seeing play, which always surprised me. And I think it was because the stuff that she killed just like wasn't that really relevant for Drukhari. Like, Drukhari was like kind of naturally just kills light infantry by themselves. But with +1 AP, she unironically just rips through even like heavier units too. If you don't have an invuln save, she'll just fucking kill you. It's just like anti-infantry 3 with like 18 attacks. And she goes to AP 3, I think, when she's attached to witches. So she'll kill basically any infantry in the game. Which seems good. Yeah, so we got 2 units of Cavalry Warriors, 2 units of Witches. 2 Witches, that's interesting. 4 Raiders. 4 Venoms? Whoa! Nuts. 2 10 Incubi. Alright, well this list is off the rails already, and I love it. 2 units of 10 Incubi. Double Scourges, double Talos Reavers. What is going in these Raiders? Do we have enough infantry for that? I guess what you can do, sort of hilariously, I guess is you can combat squad these all down. So you can put 5 of each of them in the Venoms. 2 of the Raiders get taken over by the Incubi, and then the other combat squads go into the other Raiders. So, like, a Raider's just being a Venom, but you're paid 10 extra points to have a Dark Lance, which definitely feels like it's pretty good. And that also means that you could combat squad 2 Cabalite Warrior heavy weapon teams. So you can take the Blasters and the Dark Lances and put them into 1 Raider, and then do that twice. So you have a Raider with a mounted Dark Lance, 2 other Dark Lances, and 2 Blasters, and then empower all of them with 1 Pain Token, which is very efficient. And especially because you can kind of sink a bunch of CP into a single transport as well to give it a 4+ invuln save and reactive moves, which actually makes that like boat really hard to interact with too. So that's cool. This list is wild. I really like this actually. That's really cool. L-Tempered Fireplace still run the 2nd edition Screamer Killers, problem solved. It's like a 15mm scale model, but you're playing it in 40k and you're like, it's fine. When I was a little kid, when I first started playing Tyranids, I was like, oh, I don't have enough. I have all these extra bits, because the Tyranids, the like part of the selling point of Tyranids is that because every single part of them was interchangeable. You could, like, you bought a Carnifex kit, and it came with the Carnifex, and you're like, okay, that's cool. But then it came with, like, 5 different Carapace options, 6 different head options, different arms for every arm slot. They had 4 different arm slots, a million extra pieces for extended Carapace and thorn spikes or whatever, and tail weapons, and, like, the box was enormous, and it all boiled down into this little Carnifex, but then you got, like, a metric ton of additional bits. And that was the cool part about Tyranids. You always got extra bits. And I was a little kid, and I was like, oh, I can't buy another Carnifex, but I have all these arms, so what I'll do is I got a big rock from my backyard, and I put it on a base, and I was like, this will be funny. I'll take a Ripper, and I'll give him the Carnifex's guns. So I had a Ripper with huge arms, like 10 times the size of the Ripper, with like a big Venom cannon or something. And I was like, he's going to be my Carnifex, isn't that funny? And I played it in a GW store, and I didn't even think about it. Like, when I was playing with my friends, nobody gave a shit, because we were all, you know, whatever, 13 or something. And I was like, isn't it funny? And somebody, like, made a fuss about it. They were upset that this, like, this, like, 12-year-old kid was playing with, like, his silly converted Ripper. And it was like, I I'd modeled it up and like painted it too, and it looked nicer than 90% of the things on my opponent's army. But he was all butthurt about it, and the like store employee to tell me I couldn't use it. And that's like that same energy. He's just like this little tiny guy, and you're like, no, he's the same. If you put him on a scenic base and make him the same height, it's fine. His name was Happy because he was smiling, by the way. I think he's still in my bits box somewhere. He might be still in my Tyranid collection somewhere. I think he's survived, probably. Damned Legion, how's it going, man? Nice to see you in chat. Feel the Tantalus is actually decent. Yeah, we talked about a Tantalus a couple weeks ago. It's I mean, it's sort of the same deal, right? Like you can put a Cabalite Warrior squad with an attached Archon and a court inside the Tantalus, and in this detachment, they do that cool thing where they can, you can dump out the Archon. If you pay, so you can buy an enhancement for the Archon that lets him empower transports within 3 inches. So you can move the Tantalus, jump out the unit, shoot with the unit, empower them and the transport. So for 1 pain token, you get full hit and wound rerolls on a unit of 15 guys with the Cabalites, and then also like the 12 2-damage shots from the Tantalus. And then you could pay a CP and a fight phase to jump them back in the Tantalus. And I think that's really cool. It's a lot of points and it costs you a command point, which kind of sucks, but oh boy, is that a lot of rerolls for one pain token and like a 15-point enhancement or whatever. Yeah, Tantalus is unironically really good in Sky Splinter, I think, for sure. But definitely, the other thing you could do is just take 8 transports individually, too. Also pretty good. FLG rolled it as long as it's on the correct base. If it was the original model, it's good to go. Fuck yeah, dude! Could you play, like, OG Avatar of Cain that was, like, on a 30 mil base or a 40 mil base or whatever? Like, the little teeny tiny guy? What is the, Oh, yeah, here we go. This little dude right here. Look at this little fucking guy. Just play that guy. Put him on the fucking 100 mil base. Solid. If you can find one of those, right? Like, no one will fight you on that. It also, honestly, the cool thing about 10th edition, and the cool thing about the Ruin mechanics, as much as people hate on them, is that because this Avatar of Cain doesn't really protrude off the base at all, it actually doesn't really matter how big he is. It only matters if he touches a terrain feature, and most of the time you can see him anyway. So having this little dude on this big base actually doesn't really change the line of sight that much. I wonder, what is the difference between the Scrimmer Killers, though? Between him and the OG Screamer Killer, I actually don't know if I've seen one. There's a bunch with Carnifexes. And, oh man, is it different? Look at this little fucking guy, he's so small. Never talk to me or my son ever again. Nobody messes with my granddad. Yeah, and then you consider that the regular Carnifex is about half the size of the new Screamer Killer. So this guy's probably about a third the size of the new Screamer Killer. That's amazing. I'd play that, right? At that size, Screamer Killer's pretty good. At new size, it's a little bit awkward. Somehow an OG second at Hive Tyrant new inbox. Still shrink trapped. He's still better be legal. Hell yeah, dude. Play the shit out of that. I'm all in on tiny Hive Tyrants. A lot of people use them as Tyranid primes, which is like definitely the correct size, but I don't know. The old Hive Tyrant had this like alien majesty to him that I always appreciated. That the Tyranids Prime just doesn't really replicate. All right. Speaking of which, that was a tangent. Let's talk about some other stuff. Somebody asked about another faction. Black Templars? Can see if there's any Black Templars. I don't know. Okay, so there's a 4-2. Oh, no. Alright. We'll talk about Nick Hurting over here. Excuse me. Oh, my gosh. Nick Hurting! From Cherokee Open. 4-2 with Black Templars and a Gladius Task Force. Wow, this is very classic. This is real 2023 style Black Templars. Fire Discipline, Apothecary, Biologus. We got a whole combo going. Yep, with an Aggressor Squad. There it is. Captain with Honor Vehement. High Marshal Hubrecht, Emperor's Champion. 3 Impulsors. 2 X3 Eradicators. Blowing up some vehicles. I feel like... Does anyone else feel like Eradicators are wildly underplayed? I feel like they are. I guess it's because they only are good against monsters and vehicles. So, like, you're shooting at Custodians or whatever, and they're kind of whatever, but... You're never going to feel bad about shooting with 3 Eradicators. You're shooting, like, 4 Meltaguns at 18 inches, which is just, like, a good profile for points. Sub 100 points for 3 dudes that just kill any vehicle in the game is, like, pretty good. We then have an Assault Bolter and Scepter Squad. Land Raider Redeemer for the big brick. 3 Primera Sword Brethren. For the characters to join into. Scouts for utility. Classic. So these guys jump into the Impulsors. Redeemer takes the Aggressor Squad. I guess you could also either put the Eradicators in it, but they most likely Strat Reserve. Because they can shoot basically the entire table from Strat Reserve, which is fine. Seems good. That's kind of normal Black Templar stuff. We've seen very similar lists previously. We talked about Wolfen on the Monday video, chat. You want me to talk about Wolfen? You can listen to my video yesterday because there were 25 Wolfen in an undefeated list, my guy. Oh boy! Will we ever see a resurgence of the Red Terror? I would like to. I imagine we will. At some point, like the 11th edition Tyranid Codex or something, they're gonna be like, "Oh, it's back!" And then they're gonna do a huge reveal. It's gonna be a big, huge model on a 100 mil base. It's gonna be probably garbage, but it'll have like a super cool model, like they did Death Leaper, right? Death Leaper still had a model, and they had already re-released her. So I think we will for sure. Like they did the Parasite of Mortrex, right? The Parasite of Mortrex is like a fan favorite last edition, and they were like, guys, new model for it. Let's go. And everyone was like, whoa, sick. They'll do that again. At some point in the future, sometime, they're going to do that. Tau? So many people asking for Tau. Let's look at Tau. Let's see what we've got going on. Brandon Valley. X and 1 with Tau. Let's go. We talked about Tau. Tau did actually do really well this weekend. Unironically, multiple undefeateds with Tau, which was sick. And the lists are really cool. There was a list with like 4 commanders in it. It was like a bunch of solo commanders running around, which is a list after my own heart. You would have to tie me to the mast of the ship and plug my ears to not take like 9 solo commanders in a Tau army if I were to play Tau. And then just lose every game, like, horribly. This one's a Cold Star Commander with Exemplar, kind of classic. An Enforcer Commander with Precision. That's just, like, so good, to be honest. He's tougher to kill, and he deep strikes, and he's +1 to hit and wound all the time. He just blows everybody up. Double Breacher teams, Dark Strider, Devilfish for the Breacher teams, Big Crisis Battlesuit unit for the Big Crisis Commander, or the Cold Star Commander. Piranhas? Piranhas are back! Let's go! I feel like after everyone discovered Tetras, they just took the place of Piranhas entirely. Nobody wanted to take Piranhas anymore, but man, that unit's still sick. They get 2 Seeker Missiles for 55 points. You get 2 Seeker Missiles on this thing. Each one of them gets 2 freaking Seeker Missiles. Why? Where do they put them? I don't know. But you get 2 of them, and that's nuts. Plus a Fusion Blaster. They shoot 3 D6 damage weapons for 55 points. Holy crap. Double Riptide Battlesuits, double Skyray Gunships, Stealth Battlesuits for infiltration, and 2 Tetra units. Double Skyray Gunships. So the funniest thing I think about the new Tau update, I saw somebody, I think it was in my Discord earlier, and they were talking up the Ghost Keel. And I was like, fair enough. Ghost Keel, real strong. 2 damage blanks, 2+ saves, stealth, lone operative. Wow, amazing. This thing is amazing. And I think that the Riptide has just entirely overshadowed it, because you get, like, essentially a very similar damage profile, right? Because they have, instead of being a 2+ save, they have a baked-in invulnerable save. And they have like 1 million more wounds, and they have way better shooting, and they're like the same points value. But they're still a 2+ save, excuse me. But they're so like they have more wounds, so instead of the damage blank, they survive better. They're higher toughness, they have an invuln save, so they have better saving throws, and they have like dramatically better shooting. So like I think the poor Ghost Keel has just went from hero to 0 like really quickly, and I'm so sad for him. You're like, I could take a Ghost Keel, or I could take a Ghost Keel that just shoots like a 4 damage gun. I guess I'll take that. Which seems good. I don't know about you, but that seems okay. Haven't run a Commander All Edition? Despicable. Despicable. You disgust me. I love Commanders, though. They're so cool. I actually really don't like Crisis Battlesuits. I just like Tau Commanders. I think they're rad. I like the idea that they're like a little vehicle, and they just go do like cool commando stuff. The whole unit of them's very silly, but the one guy, I love him. I think he's cool. Tau model size to points cost does not make sense. Riptide should be way more than 165. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's like, it's really good for 165, right? But it's also like not that much. It's not like too good, I think. They're just real strong. But it does look funny because it's basically, it's like almost the size of a knight, right? It's getting to that same level, and they cost as much as like anybody else's like regular transport vehicle. But they have like, they're just like kind of suffering from not really having good strength values, I think. So that's why you have to make them a little bit cheaper. Good stuff. All right. Any other factions we want to jump into? Somebody's looking for Sisters of Battle. Sisters of Battle had an uncharacteristically poor weekend, I think. X and 2 at Cherokee. I don't know why they didn't do so well. Because they had been traditionally kind of clobbering people all edition. And then I guess they just took a weekend off. A little bit of a funny tidbit, though, everybody. So somebody in my Discord told me that they were expecting nerfs from people. They're like, I'm pretty sure we're going to see some like nerfs on these particular factions. I was like, oh, why is that? And he's like, well, because Robin Credis played them with Adepta Sororitas. And yeah, lo and behold, where is that silly goose over here? Yeah, there he is. Robin Credis played a tournament this weekend. Went 3-2 with Sisters. So whatever he played against, prepare to see it get destroyed in the next data slate update. he's gonna obliterate them for being too strong. You think somebody wall screened against him, and we're gonna see another like haphazard, like weirdly poorly thought out change to wall screening? I bet so, right? That's certainly gonna happen. It was like, what do you mean I can't charge you with my Repentia? It's like, but I'm an inch off the wall. You can't put your base there. And he's just like, what? I've never heard of this. What is this newfangled technology? And they'll be like, I've been doing it for 4 editions. It's not new, Robin Critis. But congratulations to him for having a winning record. I appreciate that. The last time I think I saw him play, he played Space Marines and got destroyed. So I'm glad he's finding some success with Adeptus Sororitas. I mean, they should be 300 points of the stance to match with Riptides, yeah. The problem was, like, I think in the past, every time they did that with Riptides and made them, like, huge focal point, like, these big, like, focus models, they were super busted, right? That was, like, what they were through 8th through 9th edition. It was, like, all Riptide. All Riptides all the time. And the other problem is that they released the Storm Surge, right? So they were like, well, we want this Riptide to be this like big knight equivalent thing, but then we just released a knight for Tal. So the Riptide's like, great. What am I, fucking chopped liver over here? God damn it. It just is in a weird spot. The fact that they released 3 similar, or like, I don't want to say similarly sized, but like vehicle-sized battlesuits in very quick succession that all use the same like battlesuit tropes, where it's like one big gun on an arm, and then like a lot of little support weapons, and all of them have like they're all the same gun basically, right? Like there's you have like the pulse driver or the ion raker or the ion cannon, is all just like sort of plasma equivalent shooting, and they're all just like scales differently, and so whichever one of the scales is most efficient is the only one you play between Ghost Keel, Riptide, and Storm Surge. It's just not very good design, to be honest. They need to make them more unique. I think the Ghost Keel having like its own suite of abilities, where it has its like electronic warfare stuff, and it has lone operative. I think that's all really cool. But Riptide versus Storm Surge is like, why the fuck do we have 2 of these models that are identical? That makes no sense. Give the Riptide and Crisis Suit swords. That would be cool. It's just, I would love to see a melee Crisis Suit unit. Although, re-release Crisis Suits in a new kit that makes them not stupid looking, and then I'm into it. The problem with Crisis Suits is that, like, you'd give them a sword and they would be like this little blocky guy. It'd be like old Commander Farsight, where he's just a Crisis Suit model, but he just has a sword randomly, and they still have the little, like, right-angle arms. Where like, I'm just a little man. I'm gonna hit you with my sword, but I won't be able to swing it over my head because I can't bend my arm at all. I don't know. It's a problem with the model. But there are so many people on like Patreon making vastly superior Crisis Battlesuit equivalents that just play those, man. Ghost Keels definitely look better than Riptides. The fact that I still have a Riptide Battlesuit on my shelf. Where'd he go? Oh, I think he's behind that. And I've never assembled, but my Ghost Keel is like lovingly assembled is definitely an indicator for my preference. It's got spinny bits. The bits in the gun spin around. I love that. That's so cool. I love Ghost Keels. I also like the stealth. Like the stealth idea is cool. And the fact that they kind of expand... This is a very long tangent about Tau Battlesuits, by the way. We definitely did not need to go this deep into Tau Battlesuits. But the fact that they sort of expand the Tau's like suite of capabilities by creating... What is basically like a... He's like an AWAC battlesuit, right? Like... That's cool, man. He's... The fact he's like an electronic warfare guy. He's got a gun, but he's not really a gun, like, vehicle. He's mostly about, like... jamming stuff and like relaying communications and things like that. That's like super sick. Despite the fact that they're always terrible in the game, I really like it when 40k dives into like the logistical elements of every army, where you have like fucking power lifter sentinels and like Arvis lighters and little troop fairies and stuff. That's cool. I love that shit. It just fleshes out the universe, makes it feel so much more real. Rather than just be like, big man, big gun, shoot other man. No, it's cool when the armies feel like actual armies. Anyway, here's an Adeptus Sororitas list from John Casey. Thanks, John Casey, for giving us an Adeptus Sororitas list to talk about. We got Morvenval. Only character in the army. No Palatines today. Get that shit out of here. We're playing MSU Sisters. One Sister Squad, double Immolator and a Rhino, triple Arcoflagellants. Wow, that Rhino's pulling. That Rhino's doing a lot of work, carrying 30 Arcoflagellants around. Probably just loading and unloading. All right, boys, go get them. Embark the second unit. 2 Castigators, 2 Crusaders, Dominions. Can we've definitely looked this up before. The Dominions can split out of the Immolators, right? So you could have a 5 model Dominion squad with 4 Assault Meltaguns. If they come out of the Immolator and they get wound rerolls. That's actually, like, really good. I don't believe that there's any restriction on who actually combat squads, right? Oh, Battle Sisters, Dominions or Sister Novitiates. Okay. Yeah, so you could put all the Meltagun ladies into a transport and then split them off. Dominions are really only 11 points per model. How come people don't play this unit more? What? They're so good. That's surprising to me. I guess that you're paying 110 points for 10 models when you could pay 60 points for 5 Zephyrim, which is probably better anyway. I've talked myself out of it. An Exorcist, 1 unit per 3 Paragons, double Seraphim, and a Zephyrim squad for scoring points. Yeah, pretty standard stuff. Bunch of Meltaguns with rerolls. And 2 Castigators, plus a million Arcoflagellants to fight people. We don't have any Repentia, which we've been seeing more recently. But, I mean, I don't think you necessarily need them. I think the Arcoflagellants usually solve the same problem. They just don't have an AP value, which is sad. I'm sort of terrified of them, by the way, though. Playing Demons right now, like an Arcoflagellant unit touches me, I'm just dead. It's just gonna kill me. I just can't let them touch me, but I don't know how to stop them, so... I guess I die. Ripperonis. Farsight's in a crisis suit, but he's definitely not. Yeah, he's got... Farsight's a tinker, right? He's like built his own crisis battle suit out of like spare parts and Gundam models. His crisis battle suit's definitely the coolest. If we see a re-release of crisis battle suits that look like Farsight's, oh, god damn. I immediately turn into a Tau player. Usually run 1 to 2 units of them for scout moves and transports. Yeah, the fact that, like, I had no idea. The first time I played against them, I was like, alright, Dominions are sisters with scout. That's good. They're less OC. That's Retributor's. Where's the Dominions at? Oh. I'm separate. They're less OC. Oh, God. But they have scout, and that's cool. And then reroll advance rolls. Sure, why not? Then every weapon gets assault. wait. So the first time I was like, all right, I'm going to set myself 18 inches away from this Dominion squad, or more than 18 from this Dominion squad, so they can't move up and shoot me with their flamers. And they're like, I'll advance. I was like, holy shit. Wait a minute. Hold up. Stop. Everyone stop. Why are they shooting me? They're not supposed to be able to shoot me. That's really good. Assault is such a good weapon keyword in 10th. Especially for utility units that want to go do actions. And especially because, like, sisters are really good at deploying teleport homers. The fact that you automatically get your teleport homers round 1 without even thinking about it with a 5 model squad out of an Immolator is just like, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Dominions are super solid. For 1 point per model more than Battle Sisters. It's definitely not, like, a strict upgrade. It's definitely a... Because you lose out on the heavy weapons and stuff, but holy shit, man. I think this unit rules. Alright, chat. Well, it being 6:10, I think we are going to have to call things. This has been a very illuminating discussion. Because I have to go set up for my next stream. So, yeah. I do want to remind everyone, while we're wrapping up here, I am going to be streaming the 8TC team tournament this coming weekend. So I'm leaving tomorrow night to go stream that. And it's going to be sick. I'm excited to go down to Tennessee with all those guys. I haven't ever streamed a team tournament before, so I'm sure it will be an exciting adventure for getting everything going. I have a pretty good idea of what the setup's going to look like, but a lot of it is untested, so I'm sure we'll have some interesting experiences, but I'm excited to do it. Yeah, anyway, I think that's going to be... that's going to be what my weekend looks like. So I'm psyched. So I should have YouTube stream events for that up later tonight. I will also have that on my stream. It's on my stream calendar right now, but I'll have the links up on my stream calendar later on. Obviously, it'll be streamed on this channel. So please come watch those. It's going to be Friday through Sunday. I believe it's only 2 rounds a day because they're doing the WTC style where everybody gets like a half hour between games to do list pairings. But we're going to be streaming the list pairings and all the games. And I believe 3 of the 8 tables is going to be live is the plan right now to be streamed here. And we'll probably bounce between them during sort of low points and stuff. Please don't go jump games too much. I'll see what I can do. I know people don't like game jumping, but it is a team tournament, so that's like a big part of it. So I think at the very least we'll check in, like while people are doing movement phases and stuff. But yeah, I'll definitely try to limit it as much as possible. I know people hate that, which to be honest surprises me a little bit. I think like jumping between games is really cool, but I understand it. People want to see all the little bits and pieces happen. All right, chats. That'll be it for me today. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me. This is a good one. I do apologize again about the late start. But if you want more Tactical Tortoise goodness and you want to see me get run over by Necrons, please come hang out with me on the on Twitch. I'm going to be live there right now. So I'm just about to go set that game up, and then we'll be live over there in just a couple of minutes. So the party doesn't stop over there. It's just moving venues. Primary game and check-ins and others. Yeah, that's what we're going to be doing for sure. We will probably have a 3-camera setup with the score sheet and everything on the primary table, and we'll probably I'm not sure 100% how we'll choose which primary table it is. Maybe we can vote for it, but I imagine that the setups will be pretty quick. We might just ask the captains what they think the most interesting ones are. Or we'll just pick one randomly, I don't know. And then we'll have 2 games with probably just an overhead that we can pop into to discuss. And then what we'll have as well is the players will, as they input scores, we'll have like a live feed from Best Coast pairings, and we'll be able to update the scores immediately too. So you'll see with the team ranking switch as or team scores switch as the game's complete. So I don't know, it should be fun. I'm excited to do it. So we'll see how it goes. All right. I'm going to pop off for real this time and go set up my game. So thanks, everyone, for hanging out. And I will see you in like 10 minutes.